The book of Zechariah is one of the most visually wild and honestly hope-filled stories in the entire Old Testament. It's a book for anyone who's ever tried to rebuild something, not just a building, but maybe their faith, their hope. So let's dive into this powerful message together.
I mean, really think about that feeling for a second. That sinking, overwhelming sense that the job ahead is just too massive, the resources are too small, and you're just out of gas. That exact feeling, that's what we're going to be talking about, because it is right at the very heart of this ancient story.
All right, let's set the scene. Picture this. It's 520 BC. The Jewish people have finally returned from this long, painful exile in Babylon. They'd been promised a fresh start, right? But what they found was a city of rubble. And that big project to rebuild God's temple, it had completely stalled out. You can just feel the hope draining away.
And look, this wasn't just a construction problem. This was a full-blown crisis of faith. They were home, sure, but spiritually, they were fragile, discouraged. They were a people without hope.
And right into this despair walks a prophet whose very name is the message they needed to hear, Zechariah. It means the Lord remembers. At this time, during the reign of Darius I of Persia, that name alone was this powerful daily reminder that God hadn't forgotten them. He hadn't forgotten his promises.
So along with his contemporary, the prophet Haggai, Zechariah gets his mission. He's got to rekindle their faith. He needs to get the people to believe again, to trust God's promises, and to actually pick up their tools and get back to work on that temple.
But how in the world do you inspire a people that's lost all hope? Well, God doesn't just give them a pep talk. No, instead, he gives Zechariah this series of 8 surreal, powerful, and deeply symbolic visions, all in a single night. And before any vision of the future, before any of the cool imagery, comes this foundational call. God makes it crystal clear that restoration doesn't start with bricks and mortar, it starts with repentance. It starts with the heart turning back to him. This first vision just illustrates it brilliantly. A man among the myrtle trees, which were a symbol of God's people, showed that he was already making the first move. His presence was back among them. The time for judgment was over. This was a new season of compassion. Okay, next up, a vision of raw power. You've got 4 scary-looking horns representing the empires that had scattered and oppressed Israel. But then, they're met by 4 skilled craftsmen. The message here is so clear and, frankly, thrilling. For every oppressive power in the world, God is raising up a force to take it apart. Now, this next one is really interesting because it's a message aimed right at the leaders, the governor Zerubbabel and the high priest Joshua. These are the guys in charge of the rebuilding, and you can bet they were feeling the pressure. And here's the crucial point, the absolute heart of the entire book. God tells them that this massive, impossible-seeming task, it's not going to be finished by human strength or political maneuvering or military might. Nope. It will only be accomplished through the power of his Spirit. And the visions just keep coming, each one more surreal than the last. You have a giant flying scroll, a symbol of God's law, soaring over the land, cleaning out corruption. Then a woman who represents wickedness gets sealed in a basket and carried far away. I know, strange images, but they carry this powerful promise. God is going to uphold his justice and purify his people. So, with the people now fired up to finish the temple, the book takes this dramatic turn. The visions about the present, they give way to these incredible prophecies of a future, world-changing hope. They start to learn that this physical temple, it's just a shadow of a much bigger reality, the coming of a Messiah king. And the details here are just astonishing. Zechariah predicts a king who will show up not on a war horse, but humbly on a donkey. He foretells that God's chosen shepherd will be betrayed, and he prophesies a day when people will look upon the very one they have pierced and mourn for him. We're talking hundreds of years before it happened. Zechariah was painting this startlingly accurate picture of Jesus' life. 30. That is the exact number of silver pieces Zechariah predicted would be the price for betraying the shepherd. It's the precise amount Judas Iscariot got to hand over Jesus. The specificity is just staggering. So, what does all of this mean for us, right? How do we live our lives in light of these incredible promises? Well, the book's final section really brings it all home. So the people come to Zechariah with a very religious question. They had these traditional fasts to remember the destruction of Jerusalem, and they want to know, hey, should we keep doing these? It's a question about ritual.
But God's answer just cuts right through all the ritual, straight to the heart of it all. He basically says what he desires isn't about remembering old sorrows. It's about how you live right now. It's an active faith that actually practices justice, shows mercy, acts with compassion, and lives in faithfulness to other people. So, as we wrap up this journey through Zechariah, what are the big takeaways? First, God remembers his promises. He doesn't forget. Second, our greatest work isn't done by our own strength, but by his Spirit. Third, true faith isn't passive. It's an active pursuit of justice and mercy. And finally, history isn't just random. It's a story with a purpose, and it's all moving toward a final restoration under its true king. And that leaves us with one last thought to chew on. The story of Zechariah is this powerful testimony that even in the most desolate, hopeless ruins, faith and a future can be rebuilt. Which kind of makes you wonder, in our world and our own lives, where are the ruins today? And how might hope be trying to break through?
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us.